Hey y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. Today we're going to talk about fascism again, but in the context of what we're seeing and how this might, hopefully not, but may lead to martial law. And if and when that happens, what we need to do to be prepared for that. I don't want to give power to the power, right? But I think it's important after last night, the violence that happened, what we need to talk about. So I'm referring to Columbia University. They, NYPD and other jurisdictions. That's the thing in these situations, all these jurisdictions come together. So you've got county, local municipals, which is different cities and towns, right? They each have their own police force, and then you've got county, which is like the sheriffs, right? Like the larger ones. And then in some border states, New York is a border town, technically, even though it's not, on the border of Mexico, it's still a border of the United States. So then you've got Border Patrol, right? You've got all these other jurisdictions, SWAT. So yeah, anyway, this was New York, right? So it was NYPD predominantly, but it was hundreds of pigs, hundreds of them. And they used SWAT and went into Hind Hall, which the Columbia students renamed Hamilton Hall after Hind, the child who was left alone in a vehicle, and then when the Red Crescent got permission from the IDF to go, get her, they ended up killing the Red Crescent and the little girl, right? So she was in a vehicle with all of her dead relatives, waiting to be saved, and then was killed. So that's who they named the hall after. Anyway, all that to say is that the police went into Hind Hall, and also broke up, like, the people on the quad or in the yard, lawn, whatever. So it was hundreds of people. There was a huge call of action. Lots of New Yorkers videotaped stuff. Lots of protesters were sharing. Someone got thrown down the stairs, like, really horribly, by the police. Other things are happening. Anyway, all that to say is that the state is always going to enact those sort of things, right? Now, martial law, I really quick want to talk about martial law, and then we're going to talk about what happened at UCLA last night. And then we'll, the encampment by me that went up yesterday afternoon was also targeted by police, but the footage is not out yet. When it is, I will look at that. But that was in like 5 hours that it went up and got taken down. And that's in Flagstaff, Arizona. So yeah, that's pretty fucking intense. If you guys remember Klee Benally, he was in occupied Flagstaff area, an indigenous Dene person. He passed away a few weeks ago. And I'm thinking a lot about Klee in this resistance time, because he would have been so happy. He would have been so excited to see this, and I'm, honoring that. But anyway, back to NYPD. We'll talk about martial law at the end. So UCLA had their encampment, and I've heard from students that were there, or people that were doing like legal observing, and there's also footage of what happened, but hundreds of young Zionists went to the encampment and just started beating. They were doing fireworks, they were hitting people with bats and batons, and these are kids, Zionist kids. And apparently school police just stood by. Someone said that attack lasted 7 hours, that the LAPD and UCLA police let that happen, and just stood by and watched and laughed and recorded. Apparently the LAPD was called eventually, I guess, and they broke it up. I don't think that there were any repercussions for the Zionists. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that full thing. I have seen tons of photos of blood coming from that event, but they were like lighting fireworks. They were tearing down their encampment, doing a whole bunch of stupid shit. And what I want to talk about for that is that a few days ago, UCLA opened up the campus to counter-protesters for Israel, and they put them right next to each other. They put the Zionists directly next to the student encampment, and that was like full-grown, you know. I don't know if you've seen those videos. There were grown-ass women saying, "I hope you get raped." Like, these people are so fucking foul. Like, literally the epitome of the planet. Anyway, I don't know if that was the right word. Anyway, what I want to talk about when it comes to martial law is that, and I've been talking to a couple of my comrades about this, is just like, when do we think that's going to happen? Because these situations, because they're popping up the way they are, but they are within institutions and schools, until the community or others, right, start to enact those things, then we feel like martial law will happen. So what I want to say is, obviously, we're getting to a point, they're not going to back down, right? They've made it clear. They being the powers that be. Biden, Trump, all of them. Mamala. I don't know if you saw that shit. All of them fucking want this. They want their oil, they want their resources, they want their Gaza beachfront property, and they're not going to back down until it's done. They're well aware that this is a genocide. They have been aware of that for 75 years, and they've been on board with it. So, the rest of us who are just being like, oh fuck, what can we do? We've got to keep going. But with that comes risks, obviously, and the students are letting us know what those risks are. So, on these notes, if and when martial law gets enacted, it can be localized or it can be at a national level. And I think a lot of folks, when they talk about, like, I'm talking like preppers, like people who are on like the white supremacy side of life, generally, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure, you know, preppers, when they talk about shit hitting the fan, you know, that shit hits the fan, SHTF, when they use that acronym, that's what it is, shit hitting the fan. But I feel like they're talking about martial law a lot of the times, but don't use that language. But then you've got like retired veterans or, you know, military folk who are also like not on board with this, which is great. We need more of y'all. But then I just saw a couple of vets talking about how they are being voluntarily asked to re-enlist, and they think, they're speculating, like, we don't want to, so they're giving us an opportunity to voluntarily do it, and then we feel like they're gonna recall us if they don't get enough people to volunteer, right? Which would be like a draft situation. If we are moving towards that, right, it doesn't seem like we're moving away from violence. It seems like we're all going that way. Then you need to be prepared in self-defense for both your locally, and you need to be prepared to respond to state-sanctioned violence, which would be martial law. So martial law is military control of the government. I've seen some National Guard, but I don't think it's the majority, talk about how they will not, well, he can't talk about it because he's active duty, but he, what's the word? Preluded? There's a word for that. I don't fucking know. He alluded, that's the word. He alluded to and read public documents, like, you know, FOIA information on how the National Guard can respond. And he says, when he was reading, you know, National Guard's job is to, you know, fight for America from both foreign and domestic terrorists. Now, a lot of folks can see that the terrorists are the people inflicting violence, not the people who are peacefully protesting. But the main narrative of the powers that be is that those who are protesting against genocide are the terrorists, right? We're seeing this connection made constantly. And I just saw something today that another law was passed about if you question 9/11, if you question 9/11, that's now illegal, I guess, and you're considered a terrorist. I don't. So, I mean, these things, this should tell you, like, these motherfuckers, the powers that be are literally like, oh, what do we have? What do we have? What do we have? What can we use, you know? And, like, people are just like, let's, you know, chill and be in community. And people who are in these encampments are really realizing how sufficient effective community is, right? For all things, right? Villages, little communes. We're understanding that when we're together, when we have that space and time together to create and to be, we don't need any of that, which is why all of that is coming at us, right? Because we're so close to liberation. People know it, people feel it, people are participating in it, and then the system's like, oh, hell no, go to work, bitch. If you're not gonna work, then we're gonna put you in jail and you're gonna work, right? Like, this is the system. So, in regards to martial law, I don't know, I don't see it happening very soon, but the thing that is, if and when communities, hopefully when more than just the students in the colleges start to, you know, do these things, we cannot lose steam is the bottom line. We cannot lose steam, and we might be put under martial law. And if and when that happens, things are going to be limited. The government can come into your house and take all your shit, legit. They can put checkpoints up, so you can't, you know, your mobility is, like, there's a lot of things that happen under martial law. Look into that if you are unfamiliar with it. And it can be enacted, like I said, it's been enacted, like, in municipalities, like, especially in 2020 with the uprisings. Martial law was put in those, you know, areas, but not as, like, a national thing. So I just want folks to be aware of what martial law is, the possibility that it has, and that it would be enacted by the government's, like, the military. It would be military overtake of stuff. So the last hope would be for military to go against those orders, you know, and stand with the people. And also for police. Police are allowed to do that as well. So those are the things I'm thinking about this morning. I feel like for the Zionist thing, if and when you are protesting, get a fucking helmet, get some fucking goggles, like, get your gear going. These people are violent. I would say don't show up to a protest if you're not ready. And I'm not saying that in, like, these children don't want this shit escalated. However, it is escalating. So what are you going to do to protect yourself? And yeah, if you are someone in the community that can support students, if you can buy some helmets, and shit, I don't know, it might be a good idea. But, like, that's what I was thinking, because I saw a lot of head trauma from the UCLA specifically. Like, those kids were swung on, and, like, there was a lot of blood coming out of heads from UCLA, and the pigs just allowed it to happen. And backing up right back on that UCLA thing, I think a lot of what caused that was the entitlement that those Zionists got from that little concert that they had right next door to the encampment. So shame on UCLA for even allowing that to fucking happen. That was all put into why those kids felt like they could go do that shit last night. And that's fucked up. And the school needs to take accountability for that. And if you're a professor at any of these colleges, stand with the students. My mentor stood with the students at Northern University, and I'm really proud because I know that's really hard. You know, there's a lot at risk for that, but you know, if you're an older person, there's not as much at risk for you than there is for the kiddos who have the rest of their fucking lives, right? So anyway, that's my spiel. Research martial law, I guess. But like that's one of the things I would recommend if you are going to be finding yourself in these spaces, or you're preparing your own, you know, resistance or whatever. Get your gear good, all right? And if you watch Mommy Preps, that's a lot of gear stuff. Like I've got helmets and shit for us, just, you know, for random times. I think they're a good investment. We've got bulletproof vests, we've got a whole bunch of shit, because these motherfuckers are crazy, and if you don't have the weapons to fight them, you're gonna need to be on the defense. So get everything you can for the defense, both at a civilian level and at like law enforcement level. You know, do whatever you can to protect your fucking self and your body. All right, have a good one.